You mentioned something else about accountability, and that was actually a question I was going to ask you. I'm like, where does accountability fit into polyvagal theory? Just in
That's
general,
tough.
I'm like thinking about like
I know.
the prison systems and criminals and like, and
I
I'm just,
know.
you know,
I've spent some time just thinking about this. I have an article on, I think it's an article on free will, because I think
hmm,
it's all kind of connects to it. And this is a deep conversation I've never tried to get into. So I don't know. It's not an easy answer.
yeah,
So
yeah.
are you up for it or?
I'm super up for it. I
Okay.
think about it. So yeah.
All right. Here's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
One angle of this, which is not polyvagal informed, is just as a society, how do we want to handle these things? And the best we've come up with so far is the prison system, which is not. I think it has its utility, but obviously is we're not doing a very good job, and it's not serving its purpose. So it's like the
Absolutely.
function of it is. I get the function of it,
Hmm.
but the practicality of it is not going so well. Let's put it that way. So that's just like as a society, that's the choice we're making, more or
Yeah.
less. Now, in a polyvagal sense, I think that there is some utility, and this is why I'm okay with timeouts.
Okay.
I think there is utility, and it makes sense that if someone violates the social agreement, social norms, the social connection, that at some point we can say, you cannot be with us anymore. And I
Mm.
think this philosophically can tie into the prison system. That's kind of like, you can't be in here anymore. You go away. You have to go to somewhere
Mhm.
else. And we lock them up in prison, which is whatever. So with kids on timeout, that's the mentality. Actually, before that, so that's the prison system. Let's just talk about like friendships.
Yeah.
If you have a friend who somehow like they seriously violate the norms of your friendship, they cross some sort of boundary, you have every right to say, you cannot be here anymore. The
Right.
friends can band together and like five friends hanging out. If one of
Hmm.
them violates some sort of norm, the other four can say, no, go away. You can't be with us anymore.
Hmm.
Now they might say you can't be with us for now, or you can't be with us until you get some kind of help. Like maybe they're really addicted to something. It's like you need help.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
you cannot be a part of our life until you get help. So there is a sense of rejection there. That's not shaming. That
Hmm.
person may feel ashamed, but I wouldn't say the friends are shaming them.
Hmm.
So there's that. And now take that idea, and that's what I apply to timeouts, which is you've seriously broken a house rule. Like, it has to be something really serious. Like
Right.
you've hit
Sure. Yeah.
somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's
Hmm.
why we're kind of ostracizing you into, a little timeout spot for 5 minutes or whatever it is. So it's like a
Hmm.
mini version of things that may happen later on in life with much more severe consequences. So that's the idea of, I think there's a social function to it. I do think that connects to attachment and just the evolutionary social kind of idea in general. Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to accountability,
Hmm.
okay, the way that first off, I don't believe people have free will.
Okay.
How does
Yeah.
that sit with you? First off, we have to
That
like,
sits, I mean, that sits pretty well with me. So
okay,
yeah. Hmm.
are you into this stuff? Like the,
I love this stuff.
oh,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm super curious to see where you land on this as well. So I would say we don't have ultimately free will. I think it feels like free will. I think it feels like choice. And I think that's good enough.
Hmm. Hmm.
But ultimately, I don't think we have free will. I would say that I'm pretty materialistic about uh, biology. I don't believe in a soul. I'm
Okay.
an
Yep.
atheist.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
okay with all that so far?
Very much okay with that. Yep. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say, as best I know, that life and our choices are like dominoes falling, and
Yeah.
uh, I don't think I'm choosing to do. I feel like all this stuff just has led us in this direction from the moment of the Big Bang, and whatever happened before that, I don't know. Okay, so there's that.
Yes.
I'm trying to set up an argument here.
This is
So
helpful.
there's
Yeah.
okay,
Hmm.
so there's that. So part of being human, we evolved into this state or this our biology. I guess I'm not sure how to put that. We evolved to be who we are right now, right?
Yes.
Part of us is that we're a mammal, but part of that is that we are just a living organism comprised of cells.
Hmm.
Fair enough. Okay.
Fair.
The basic biological function of a cell or of any living, I would say living organism, even like DNA and whatnot, is to duplicate, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So,
Yep.
but to duplicate, we have to survive.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
for us, so let's bring it back to us. Part
Okay.
of us surviving is being self-regulated. Part of us surviving is optimizing our health and growth and restoration, as Dr. Porges puts it.
Okay.
And in order to do that, we have to have access to our safety state.
Hmm.
So I don't believe we choose to be in our safety state. I don't even think we choose to go that direction. It feels like it, but I don't think we do. So I would say that as an organism, we are biologically compelled to self-regulate.
Huh.
So we don't choose that. We are always compelled. We are always in a state of impulse to self-regulate. All kinds of stuff gets in the way. Trauma gets in the way. People in our homes, all kinds of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even that stuck defensive state, even that traumatized state, I would say still has an impulse to self-regulate, climb its ladder back to the top of its ladder.
Yes.
Okay. So when we feel like we're choosing something, like if we feel like we're choosing to do something that's healthy for our system, really what I would say our thoughts are now aligning with our biological impulse.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So I would say the impulse is already there, and we're not consciously not choosing to align our thoughts. Our thoughts will eventually align with the biological impulse to regulate, to self-regulate, and then to be a co-regulator for others. So I'm putting pieces out here. Like I said, I've never tried talking about this. So
yeah. So in that moment, would you say that, like, okay, so in that moment, are we actively trying, like, are we even doing things? Are we choosing to do the things to climb the ladder? Or is that just that you're saying that's just our impulse? That's just what we
I think it feels like a choice.
It feels like a choice.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. And I think we have true experiences. I am feeling this. I am talking with you. This is, I mean, as best I can tell, this is real. And that's good enough for me. I can't complain about that. So I would say that so I'm not perfectly well regulated right now.
Yeah.
But my biology wants to be.
Yes.
And so all of my life history stuff has come up to this moment.
Yeah.
Which has filled me with like narratives and like top-down narratives that prevent me from regulating further. Okay. But ultimately, my biology wants to regulate to its safe and social state. Part of this is my top-down stuff. Is stopping that from fully happening. Yeah. Part of that is bottom-up stuff is stopping that from fully happening. So it's like we get stuck in these not dysregulated, but we get stuck in these not fully regulated states, I guess. Some of us flat out dysregulation. So ultimately, if I could slow down enough to listen to what my body needs in this moment, I could self-regulate. Now, the question is, am I choosing to slow down enough? Or is the impulse already there and now I'm realizing it? And then I'm conscious enough to sit back and watch that happen. Does that make sense at all?
It is making sense. It's like, I feel so torn in this because there is definitely a very large part of me that just believes that, like, all of our experiences, everything that has happened up until this point, just leads us to whatever the next thing is, right? Like, I don't know the word for that. Leads us, I don't know. Right? Like, I very much feel that deeply. And I also hate the idea that, like, I am not actively choosing these things.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's super uncomfortable. Yeah.
But it doesn't negate the reality that it feels like it. Yeah. And we are experiencing what seems to be choice. But I mean, ultimately, like, we don't have free will. I can't not choose to fly. I mean, obviously we don't have full free will.
Right. Sure.
I'm obviously limited by what I'm physically capable of doing. I'm obviously limited by means in my life, money and capability and all kinds of stuff. So the idea of free will is nonsense. We obviously don't have that. Right. So the best we have is what feels like choice. I think what feels like choice within a whole bunch of confines. And even then, we cannot escape the fact that our biology has this impulse to self-regulate. So we are defined, in my opinion, that is the defining characteristic of every single one of us, like evolution, survival, and reproduction. Like, we cannot escape that. So within all those confines, if you want to call that choice or free will, fine. It doesn't seem like it logically, but it feels like it, and I'm okay with that. But there is this idea, there is this sort of for me, like a realization of oh crap.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
think about it that way, yeah. Hey, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I, of course, have a lot more stuff here on YouTube, but I also have even more on my website. It's justinlmft.com. I have a blog, I have a podcast, I have free resources, and I have some paid courses as well. Head on over to justinlmft.com. I think you'll like it a lot. This and other content I create is not therapy, not intended to be therapy or be a replacement for therapy. Nothing in this creates or indicates a therapeutic relationship. Please consult with your therapist or seek for one in your area if you are experiencing mental health symptoms. Nothing should be understood to be specific life advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only.